Heroes Die by Matthew Stover. How are not more people talking about this book? How did I not hear about this forever? This book was insanely good, and I've got to talk to you about it today. Welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son talk about fantasy, science fiction, and other nerdy things that we enjoy. Today, just Jim here, the father of this show, bringing you my reaction to Heroes Die by Matthew Stover. This will be a spoiler-light episode. I'm not going deep into the plot. I'm talking about the feel of the book, the elements of it, and give you an idea of whether or not you should read it. The answer is yes, by the way, unless you are like under the age of 15 or something, and maybe even a little younger. If you enjoy what I have to say today, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, Zach and I sure hope you will. Thank you to those of you who already have. It really helps our channel just to have more subscribers. So thanks. Again, this book, Heroes Die, book 1 of the Acts of Caine. Next to nobody out there talks about this book, and I can't believe it. It was a nearly perfect narrative. Believable characters, some that were maybe a little caricature, but just a little. I mean, I didn't feel that way as I was reading the book. That's just as I reflect on it afterwards. Okay, maybe a couple of them were a little too black and white. Didn't bug me at all. I so enjoyed reading this story. Now, it's a fantasy story, but it really has elements of science fiction blended into it as well. Zach read this over a year ago, and like 14 months ago, he dropped a Book Blast episode here on the channel that you can find if you want to hear Zach's reactions. I was on the episode listening, going, interesting, and asking the occasional question because I hadn't read it yet, and he did not spoil it for me. So when I got to it now, just this week, I only had a little idea of what I was getting into. Oh man, it was so good. So again, I'm just here to tell you today, you should be reading this book if you haven't yet. Now, there is definitely some violence in this book. There is definitely some language and even a little bit of sexual content, not romantasy style, nothing like that. You know me, come on. But, there are some things that could be offensive, some things that more modern fantasy readers might not like. I don't know. It's going to come down to taste, but I wasn't offended. I didn't have an issue. In the simplest little bit to make sure you understand what the heck I'm talking about, we have a world like ours, but in the future a little bit, and another world just as real, but in like a parallel dimension. And the people from our world have figured out how to get to the other world. But the people in the other world have no idea we exist. No idea there is another world. And so people from our world go to that world, and then people in our world watch their adventures in that world, performing, acting. But they're really interacting in a very real way in the lives of the people in that other world. And that is great entertainment. That's the backdrop for this adventure, and we follow one particular person and his adventures. He's like the biggest star in the entertainment ring system, and this is called the Acts of Caine. So that's the character that is played when over in that other world, Caine. I really tried to think of what did Matthew Stover do with the plot that he wrote here that I disagreed with or wish he'd done differently. And I can't come up with a bloomin' thing. And in fact, when the story finished, I was so satisfied, so thrilled with the story that I was like, there's 3 more things I can read in this Acts of Caine thing, and I'm not sure I want to, because he might mess it up. He was so perfect with this book from my just fan reading enjoyment experience. I don't want to diminish that. I want to just feel as good as I do about it now. But of course, I'm a completionist, so I have continued. I'm about 10% into book 2, and I'm still loving it. It's not the same sort of sequel sort of thing that you normally think of with a sequel. I'm not going to tell you any more about it right now, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far. So I'm not sorry that I went on to book 2. I don't know where else Stover is going to go with book 2 at this point. Book 1 was fantastic so far. So is book 2. All right, that's all I'm going to give you here today. I just wanted to rant a little bit about how incredible Heroes Die was as a book, a fantasy book, a sort of sci-fi book to read. If you've read it, want to share your thoughts on it, go ahead and put them down in the comments. If you disagree and you thought it was trash and you don't know why I loved it, put down in the comments why you think it was trash. And I might just tell you why I think you're wrong. More likely, I'll just thank you for your comment because we all look at things differently, and I respect that. But I hope a bunch of you would just say, yeah, this book was good. Glad you're on board now, Jim, and we can be friends. That's where I'll leave you. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you next time.